Good afternoon, Mr. Ahmed. Can you see and hear me all right?
Oh dear.
Mr. Ahmed?
Yes, sir.
You can see me?
Yes. No, I can't see you now.
But you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Right. Can you see me now?
Yes, I can see you, sir.
Right. Thank you. That's it. In order. Can I ask you to raise your hand and say the words of the oath after me, please?
Yes,
I
sir.
swear by Almighty God
I swear by Almighty God
that I will tell the truth,
that I will tell the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
You're now going to be asked questions by Miss Graham. Miss Graham.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Ahmed.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Can I ask you to tell us your name, please?
My name is Saeed Ahmed.
Thank you. What age are you, Mr. Ahmed?
I'm 70.
And I understand that you own and work in a shop.
Yes, I do.
And you are the father of Mrs. Rashid, who we've just heard from this morning.
Sadia Rashid, yes.
And you have sons, one of whom is Zahid.
Yes.
Thank you. And you have given a statement to this inquiry, and I understand that you may have a copy of that in front of you now, do you?
Yes, I do have.
And are you able to see it, and you can refer to it, because I'm going to ask you some questions about it.
Yes.
Lovely. Now, I may also be referring to one or two other documents, and we'll deal with that when we come to it. But if you keep your statement in front of you, I think that will be a big help.
Okay.
Oh, thank
I'll
you.
do that.
Now, first of all, you gave a statement a while ago to the PERC, Police and Investigations Review Commissioner.
Yes.
And that was on the 24th of August 2015. 2015, yes, at 3:15. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yes, I do remember.
You may also have been given a paper copy of that statement.
Yes, I got copy in this one, in this folder, yes.
When you gave PERC your statement in 2015, were you doing your best to tell them the truth and to be accurate insofar as you could?
Yes.
So if there are any differences, for example, in relation to timing, the time that things happened,
Yeah.
should the chair prefer your version from 2015 when you gave your statement to PERC?
Yes, I think it's better if I prefer the 15 ones.
We've heard from quite a few witnesses who've said their memory in 2015 was probably a bit better then than it is now. Is that the same for
Yes,
you?
Yeah, it was fresh at that time because it wasn't happening long ago. See, it was just happening.
Thank you. Well, let's turn to your inquiry statement, and this is SBPI 00249. And I think you gave this to the inquiry on the 8th of December last year. Do you see that on the front page? Just at the top it says, Witness Statement, Mr. Saeed Ahmed.
Yes.
Thank you. And then it's 12 pages, and you've signed it on every page, haven't you?
Are you referring to the statement I given just now?
Yes, I am. The inquiry statement that you gave to us.
That's on 8th of December 22.
Yes. And you should
Yes.
see your signature at the bottom of every page.
Yes, I've seen the statement with my signature zone. Yes.
Thank you. And on the last page, which I think is page 12, it was signed on the 25th of January.
That's right.
And you'll see the last paragraph of your statement. I'll just read that out. It says, I believe the facts stated in this witness statement are true. I understand that this statement may form part of the evidence before the inquiry and be published on the inquiry's website. And do you understand that your statement will be published on our website? And is that paragraph correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And so again, you've done your best with the inquiry to tell the truth and be as accurate as you possibly can.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Can I ask you some questions about Sunday, the 3rd of May? Now, in your inquiry statement, you begin telling us about this in paragraph 2. And please feel free to have a look through paragraph 2 now if you wish to do so.
Yes.
And you talk about getting a phone call from your daughter,
Yes.
Mrs. Rashid. And you've said in your inquiry statement you thought it was maybe after 9 or maybe 9:30.
Yeah.
Now, without taking you to the document, although you've got it in front of you, your statement that you gave to PERC might suggest that the call from your daughter was closer to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Thinking back now, do you remember when she called you?
See, if I think back, see, that time my shop opening was a different time. I didn't realize that because that was 7 years ago, say. I just say 9 o'clock. Usually I used to open at 9 o'clock and do the deliveries. And I think I got a phone call maybe 12 past 12.
Right.
But not at 9 o'clock
Right.
or near 9 o'clock.
Right. So maybe your inquiry statement isn't quite correct on the timing. Is that fair
Not
to
this
say?
one. It's because of lack of time. See, I didn't kept anything in my mind at all. That's why I really don't remember properly that what happened at that time and what times. The timings may be wrong. Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Can I ask you to please tell us about the call from your daughter?
The call I received from my daughter, Sadia, I call her.
Sadia.
She said, Dad, the police is here and they're asking us to empty the house right now. And we asked them why, and they're not telling us. They just said you have to empty the house because it's a crime scene. I asked her, didn't you ask what the crime scene is? She said, no, they're not telling us. They just said we have to seal the house and we have to get out right now.
Who was in the house that morning or that day?
Yes, madam?
Who was in the house that day?
Well, it was my daughter with her children, my wife, and my son, who is paralyzed, Muhammad Abid. These are the only one I know. I don't know anybody else.
So we've heard of, your daughter's told us about Abid, and he has some mobility issues, as I understand.
That's right. He's injured. See, he's in the chair and he can't move on himself.
Your daughter told us that you're his carer Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
What type of help do you have to give Abid?
Well, I give him support for toilets needs and moving around inside and outside because he at that time he couldn't move much. I am his carer and I give him all the help what he needs, like exercise, physios, so keep him mobilized as much as he can.
Thank you. You've mentioned that you help him move inside and outside. How often
Yes.
does Abid, or certainly in 2015, how often would Abid leave the house?
Sorry, say again that?
So, in thinking back to 2015, how
Yes.
often would Abid leave the house at that time?
Well, he never leave the house only with me. Apart from me, he don't go with anybody else.
Thank you.
And actually, even at that time, I used to take him outside in the garden daily basis, or 2-3 hours, and that's all he was going out. And for prayers as well on Friday, every Friday I used to take him for the prayers at the mosque in Glenrothes. But he don't go with anybody else apart from myself.
Your daughter told us that he may occasionally see a doctor or go to medical appointments. Would he also
Yes.
go out for that?
Yes, he used to, and I used to take him if it was needed.
Thank you. Did your daughter give you any more information on the telephone about what was happening at that time in the house?
No, he didn't tell me anything apart from what I told you already. She said the detectives, the police is here and they're asking us to leave. Nothing else. They're not listening.
What did your daughter say about it being a crime scene?
She just said they said it is a crime scene, and I kept asking her, "Didn't you ask what the crime scene is?" I don't know what's the crime scene. What crime is being done? And she said, "No, they're not telling us." I keep asking, but they're not telling us.
What did you decide to do at that stage?
Then I told her, "Okay, I come around and see them myself."
Without asking you to look at this, the inquiry has a document called a scene entry log that suggests that you arrived at the house about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Do you remember that?
No, I don't think it was about 2 o'clock. It was, well, soon after the phone call. Maybe 1 o'clock, but I don't think it was 2 o'clock.
All right,
It
thank
could
you.
be, but I don't think so. Because after the phone call, soon after that I locked the shop and went away because my daughter was crying. See,
Thank you. When you got to the house, tell us what happened.
well, when I got into the house, I went in the back door. And as I remember now, see, there was a lady constable outside.
There was a lady constable outside, did you say?
Outside the back door.
Right. What
And
did you
I
do?
asked her, I need to get in. She said, "No, you can't go in." And I told her that I am a carer for my son, and that's my wife inside, and my daughter inside, and my grandchildren. See, I have to go in. First she said, "No, you can't go in." Then she said, "Okay." Then she asked from inside. I don't know who was inside, see. And then she came back with I think it was a gentleman. He came and he said, "You can't come." I told him, "No, I can. I wanted to come, see, because my son, he's paralyzed and he can't move and he may be needing help. So you have to let me in because I'm his carer as well, see."
And you've
After declining, that then he went inside and talked to somebody. Then he came back. Then after a few more arguments, he let me get in.
Can I take you through that again a little bit more slowly? Do you mind? You've mentioned the female officer went in and you talk about a gentleman. Can you tell us who that was?
See, I couldn't see from outside. When I went inside, he comes to the door. Then I knew he was a gentleman with the plain clothes.
A plainclothes, was he a plainclothes police officer?
Well, I believe he was a police officer.
Thank you. What explanation was given to you at that time about why you weren't allowed into the house?
He was saying the same thing. He said it is a crime scene. I said, "Why? What is a crime? What's the crime scene?" "I don't know." I said, "We can't tell you what it is, but you can't come because we have to seal the building." I said, "Why you want to seal the building for? If you want to see something, you can see. Let me come in first."
What did he say when you said, let me come in first?
First, he was declined. See, then he said, "Okay, you can come." I told him I need to, if we have to get out, then I have to get my son ready, his things, because he can't move without me. My wife can't do it. I have to help. I said, "Okay, then you can come." Then I went inside.
Can I ask you, why would your wife not be able to do that?
Because my son is quite a heavy person, see, and he can't move himself. He can't stand. He can't do even the chair, he got a difficulty to move his own chair where he was sitting in. And my wife is also old, and she's not strong enough to move him around.
Thank you. Can we look at paragraph 3 of your inquiry statement? Do you have that in front of you?
3.
Paragraph 3.
Yes.
I'm interested in something you say here at line 3. You say, "Once I knock on the door, the policeman came out." Why was it you knocked on the door of your own house?
Well, as I said in this statement, yes, I thought it was. But then I realized when I was looking at the other statement, I gave earlier on in 15. It was actually the woman, uniform woman, outside the door.
And then you say in paragraph 3 you got the names of a couple of the officers who were there. We've heard from your daughter that there were a number of police officers in the house that day. Do you remember how many police officers were there?
No, I just saw 2.
Right. And are those the 2 that you've given us the names of?
Yes. Because I got their numbers, see.
Thank you. And then I think you've dealt with the next paragraph. Can we look at paragraph 4, please?
Yes.
You've given us some information about this. If you look at your paragraph 4, you'll see more of it. And you explain that you told the police, you asked, "Why can't I come in? My disabled son, my wife, my daughter, my grandchildren are there." And you're just asking them to come out. "Why can't I come in? I'm a carer for my son. He's disabled. Is that what you told the police that day?
Yes.
And then you go on to say, my son needs support all the times for toilet and so on. My wife, she can't manage on her own. And my daughter, she was busy because they were asking her to pack up. She couldn't help. She is very skinny and my son is quite heavy.
Yes.
And I said, I am supposed to be here. You've just come for what reason, I don't know. They said, oh, we're not obliged to tell you, just you can't come in. Who was it that said that?
The detective, the plainclothes ones.
And of the plainclothes police officers, what did the officer look like that said, we're not obliged to tell you, just you can't come in?
I can't describe now. See, it's long ago. But they're just normal in the suits.
What height are you, Mr. Ahmed?
I am 5'11".
And can you, in comparison to your height, was this gentleman, this officer, taller or shorter?
We can say a wee bit shorter than me.
Right. Do you have any recollection now of the colour of his hair?
No.
No.
I can't describe it. It's too long. It's no possible for me to tell now.
All right. And then you say towards the bottom of that page that we have here, if you don't let me in, then I'll have to phone somebody, either the Glenrothes or Kirkcaldy police station.
Yes.
So you
I
said
did
that you...
mention.
Is that what you said to the police officers, that you would phone someone at another police station?
Yes, I did say that, yes.
Right. And then can we move on to the next part of page 4, paragraph 4, which is on the next page. Then they went back and phoned somebody, I don't know, I stayed outside. Then suddenly they just came out and said, okay, you can come in. Tell us, how long were you standing outside the house before they let you in?
Maybe about 5 to 10 minutes, 10 minutes.
And during that 5 to 10 minutes, was any other explanation given to you about why they were there?
No.
Then can we look at paragraph 5, please?
Yes.
I'd like to ask you about a part of this. You say then, you said, where shall we go? Where my family will go? Where can I take my son away and my wife and the children and my daughter? They said, that's not our job, but they have to leave. You have to go take them away wherever. Tell me about this part of the conversation you had.
That happened inside the room, in the sitting room.
Right. Who were you
Because
talking
I
to?
said, well, you're asking us to leave, empty the building, where we can go, where my children will go, why my son.
Who were you
Because
talking? Sorry, Mr. Ahmed, there's a slight delayed reaction and I sometimes speak too quickly before you've finished. I was going to ask you, who were you talking to when you had this conversation?
to the gentleman, well, you can say detective.
The same one that you'd spoken to?
I think most of the time only one was speaking, see. Other one stood there. He was there, but he was quiet.
And what were your concerns about your family, about moving them out of the house?
They were really afraid of, first of all, and they said they don't want to move, go away. My wife said she don't want to go. She was declined to get out from the house until the last minute. I persuaded her. I told her that if they keep saying, then we have to go. And that's the time, see, when I asked the gentleman, look, where we can go at this time, where I can take them. They said, it's not our job, but you have to leave because we have to seal the building.
Was any assistance provided to you or offered to you by the police in relation to
No.
finding somewhere to go?
Not at that stage, no.
No. Can you tell us about your wife and how does she speak English, Mr. Ahmed?
Very little.
When the police were in the house, how were they communicating with your wife?
I don't know. I wasn't there at that time.
When
But
you
they
were
didn't communicate much when I was there.
right, when you were there, who was doing the talking for your family?
I was doing all the talking.
Thank you. Tell us how the members of your family were at that time. How were they reacting?
Well, at that stage, see, it was only my son. He was acting angrily with the disabled ones. He keep carry on saying he don't want to go, he don't want to leave because he can't speak properly because his injuries. The ordinary people don't understand what he is saying. Because I am quite used to with that, so I could understand what he was saying. He was just carry on repeating same. Don't want to go. Why should we leave?
What was your daughter?
Same.
Sorry, what was your
My
daughter's
daughter,
reaction?
my daughter wasn't there at the first stage. See, my daughter came in later on in the room.
We've heard that at one point your daughter was upstairs.
Yes, she was. She came later on. See, after talking, and then I was talking to my wife, and I told her that if they keep insisting, we have to go. I don't know what happened. See, then I asked my wife if you know anything, what happened. She said, I don't know. I don't know. They're just saying we have to go.
We've heard that one of your other sons arrived. We've heard
Yes.
from your daughter that her older brother also helps to care for Abid.
Yes.
How long had you been there when he arrived?
Maybe you can say I was inside, or maybe 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, you can say.
How did he react to the situation?
Well, I was inside. See, I hear when he knocked on the door, and I heard the conversation he was having. It was quite loudly, see.
So could you hear his conversation?
I heard that he said he wanted to come in. Why can't he come? And he was saying the same, see, because he's also a carer for, he had to come. As he said, it's my dad's house, I have to come. They said, no, you can't come because a crime scene. And he was asking something about warrant or so on. What the hell?
How
They said,
long?
we're not obliged to tell you anything.
How long was it before he was allowed into the house?
At that stage, I asked him, my son, well, you better calm down. I'm inside. I'm talking to them. You can stay outside. Let me talk.
Can we look?
And he agreed
Sorry.
and stayed outside. I don't know, maybe not long, maybe say another, because he was walking around, let's say 8-10 minutes.
All right. So he remained outside of the house
Yes, at that stage,
at
yes.
that stage. Can I ask you to look, please, at paragraph 8 of your inquiry statement? And,
Yeah.
and then, sorry, I'll move on to paragraph 9. And you talk here about talking to the CID men, and you have in quotations, well, if there is any particular part you wanted to look at, okay, but can we stay in the sitting room? We can stay in this room and you can search whatever you like, or you can seal it the other way. That is the only room we'll use, the kitchen and the sitting room and the toilet next to it. And you can do whatever you want to do with the rest of the house. And they said, no, we have to seal it and you have to go. Tell us about this part of the conversation.
That conversation happened only when I realized that we have to leave the house. And that time I asked them, look, if you wanted to search, because they were saying there's going to be forensic examination or something. So I told them, look, if you want to search the house, you can search the house. We can stay in this room. That was a sitting room all the time, and you can do whatever you like with the house. We can use the toilet, which was next to the sitting room. And it's a kitchen you have to use. You can stay here, or you can carry on with your work. And they said, no, we have to seal the building, the whole building. You have to get out. There's no way you can stay. We have to seal the building, the whole building. Then I have to agree, okay.
If your family had been allowed to stay in part of the house, how would that have helped Abid?
Well, because as I said, he didn't want to leave the house. He usually don't go anywhere, see. All he just do is sit down and watch TV. Only for exercise or for physio, he usually go out. Otherwise, he don't even go out. He just do all the exercise inside, see, in the 1 room or 2 room. But he could have sit down there and just watch the TV for all the time. We don't know how long they were going to take.
Was any information given to you about how long this process would take?
No.
How would it have helped your daughter to have remained within the house?
My daughter, she lived in Glasgow, and she came to stay with the children. Well, she had this little baby as well. See, she said, where I will go, I have to feed them as well. You know, the other children too. And she do the breastfeeding. And she was worried where they can go. Then she said, okay, I'll see, I may go back to Glasgow. When I get out from here. That's what she told me. She will go to Glasgow at that stage.
Right. Can I ask you to look at paragraph 12, please, of your inquiry statement?
Yes.
And it's, if we could move up, please, on to the page 5. You say 3 times they come to look after my son. So you're talking about your son's carers, Abid's carers. We've heard from your daughter that they come 3 times a day. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they come 7 days a week?
Yes.
And can you tell us what time of day do they normally attend?
They normally come in the morning, 9:30. No, sorry, not 9:30. 8:30 in the morning, 8:30 to 9:30. Then they come for his toiletry needs, because after he get the breakfast done, then he usually go for toilets. So that time, usually nobody at home because I come at work. and he get help from them. The two carer comes for about 1:45. Normally it's a fixed time. See, 11:45 to 11:15. Depends how long it takes. Then in the evening, when is the bedtime, that is about 9:30 to 10:00. And that time they just make him ready to go to bed. The two carer comes that time.
Is it always two carers who come to help Abid?
Yes, always two carer because nobody can handle him alone himself. See.
And had the carers been that day?
My wife told me that time, because I asked her later on as well, the carer was there in the morning, yes. And I think she told me that the carer was there after the breakfast, say, 11 or 11:00. They were there. I don't know what happened, whether they came in or not, I don't know, because I wasn't told that.
Thank you. And was it after that the police had arrived? Are you aware, or you may not be? After the carers had left?
No, I'm not aware of that.
You don't know. Can I ask you to look at paragraph 13 of your statement? I'm asked if the officers attempted at any point to physically remove us from the house. They were forcing us, saying you have to leave right now, but not physically. They were just telling me, and they were quite aggressive. So they didn't use any physical force?
No, they didn't use any physical force at all.
In what way were they being quite aggressive?
I could see from their face, they were quite angry.
How did that make you feel?
I don't know. I was getting angry with them as well, see.
Can I ask you about one thing that's in quotations in this paragraph? You say, okay, well, we're talking about the carers here. Whenever they come, let them come. Don't worry, just send them away. Was that a reference to the carers coming to the house, or what was that about?
Yeah, that was referring to the evening carers, the later on ones, because we don't know, at that time we didn't know how long we could stay out, see. That was with the conversation with my wife.
And that was in connection with the evening visit of the carers to Abid?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's look at paragraph 14. So this is after you've left the house, and we understand from your daughter that everybody did leave the house, and
Yes.
you helped with Abid, is that correct?
See, my other son was allowed inside after, when we were getting ready to go.
And you were both,
And he,
were you both able to help Abid get out of
Yes.
the house?
yes,
And where did he go that day?
then I asked my elder son, Sajid, that it's better if you take him to your house because your house is bigger. So they can stay then until we sort this out.
Was
Hopefully.
Abid in his wheelchair when he left the house?
Yes, he's always in the wheelchair.
Right. And you've said here in paragraph 14 that you I phoned at the police station and asked them, is my house empty now? Have you finished your job? And they said, no, phone us about an hour later or so. Do you remember how many calls you made to the police that day?
Well, I make quite few calls actually, and I think I gave them the number as well of my daughter-in-law's number. Probably she was phoning as well, say. I remember I think the police phoned my daughter-in-law as well about this going back to the house, but that was later on in the evening.
Now, I don't need to show you this, Mr. Ahmed, but there's a CCTV of you arriving at the Kirkcaldy police office at around 6:30 in the evening. Do you remember actually going to the police station?
Yeah, I said in my statement, I don't remember going to the police station. I think I did went
Right. So
with somebody,
yeah.
a friend of mine.
So you took a friend to the police station. Was that in addition to the
Yeah.
phone calls that you made?
Yes.
Can I look at paragraph 15 now, please, of your inquiry statement? And you talk about, then they phoned me. So was that the police phoning you and contacting you?
Yes, they did phone me.
And said, well, we can't manage to do the forensic examination. We can provide you accommodation in a hotel, or you can get accommodation yourself and it will be paid or something. I said,
Yes,
no.
they did.
Sorry, carry on. Tell us
Yes,
about
they
this.
did mention about accommodation and so on. And I said no.
And tell us about Abid. Had he stayed in a hotel before?
No.
Your daughter gave evidence today and said that he has a special bed in your house. Is that
Yes.
correct? Tell us about
Yes,
the bed.
that's right. It's a special bed. You see, it's given by the army because that was very expensive. And that was for his need at the beginning, see, because he couldn't move at all.
And the bed was in your house.
Yes.
We've heard this morning that your son was in the army when he was injured. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And your daughter also explained that he has other equipment as well in the house. Did that remain
Yes.
in your house?
Yes, you do have. It's only four-wheeler they supply later on, not at the beginning. On the beginnings, only bed, nothing else.
So in 2015, was it only the bed, or were your daughter mentioned a hoist that he had to help?
No, hoist was supplied by the physios because I used to take my son for physio at the Kamran Hospital once or twice a week, and with the Dr. Sloan used to see him.
So was there a hoist in the house in 2015, on the 3rd of May 2015?
I think it was still there, yes,
Right,
but he wasn't using at that time.
right. Tell me what difficulties Abid would have had if he'd stayed in a hotel overnight.
It's a movement difficulty. See, he just, but nobody can stay with him all the time because sometimes he can fall off the bed, even fell off the chair as well. So it's not very easy to lift him and put him back on the bed or on the chair. See, that's why he's supposed to be looked after 24 hours. especially that time, he wasn't that well as he is now.
So in 2015, how often had Abid been away from the house and stayed overnight anywhere?
No, none at all.
How much time would you have needed to be able to arrange suitable alternative accommodation for Abid?
What do you mean suitable accommodation? See, that was my son's house. That's where he stayed. He just stayed there temporarily. That's what he told. He said he's not going to stay overnight. He's going to stay just for a few hours, yes, but not overnight.
When Abid was out of the house, what impact did that have on him when he had to leave the house?
You mean leave the house to go away, or
Yes,
just for leaving?
when you took him out, and I think you said your other son, you had Abid go to your other son's house. What impact did that have on him that day?
He was very angry. See, apart from that, nothing much. But he said he had difficulty over there in my son's house for going to the toilets.
Was that a problem for Abid that day?
Yes, it was.
How long were you kept out of the house by the police?
Then they came up back, with my elder son. But after I closed the shop, I think it was about maybe after 9, maybe 9:30.
Could we look at paragraph 17, please? I think you've told us there that you went back to the house and it was about 9 o'clock, maybe a bit after or before. And who was there with you at that time?
I was just on my own, but the rest of them was my son, Ahmed. Don't know who else were outside. They were waiting for me. My wife, maybe my son or my daughter-in-law, and at the same time I saw a couple of detectives as well, the policemen, on uniform. And Zahid as well, my son, he was standing behind them.
And was Mrs. Rashid there?
Well, tell you the truth, I really don't remember that.
You said they were waiting for you. Who was there first? Was it your family members who arrived first?
No, when I went there, they're all there, standing there outside.
Do you know how long you waited outside until you were able to get back into the house?
Well, when I arrived there, we start talking, and I asked my son what's happening, and they said that they were still checking or something, and they will leave soon. And we start talking with each other, including the detectives, and I tried to speak with my son Zahid 2 or 3 times and ask him what happened while you were with them here, or you wanted to come inside. He didn't reply because the detectives replied instead of him. They said, no, he's all right. He's not coming in. Where he's going to go? They said they're going to drop him in his house, which was in St. Andrew somewhere. They will give him a lift. stood quiet. I still tried 2 or 3 times,
I'm going to
talk to Zahid. What happened? He didn't spoke anything.
go back over that again and ask you some questions.
Yes.
So, when you were outside waiting to get back in, how long were you kept waiting?
It was quite a big conversation we have. Maybe 30, 40 minutes.
How were you feeling at that time, Mr. Ahmed?
I was feeling very angry
Right. And I think you
and
say that in,
frustrated.
yeah, you say you were feeling angry.
And frustrated.
And then, which son was it who arrived at the house with the detectives?
I don't know. I just saw them outside. That was Zahid.
So you saw Zahid, did you? You've said that in your
Yes.
statement. You say
Yeah.
in paragraph 18. And I think you were telling us you were trying to speak to him. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And then we'll see as we move on to page 7, you say that you tried to speak to Zahid and the detectives didn't let him talk. They said, no, he's not allowed to talk. Did they give you any explanation why Zahid wasn't allowed to talk to you?
No, not at all.
How did they prevent him from talking to you?
Because whenever I ask something, Zahid, they speak. See.
What would they say? What did they say?
No, they're just saying, oh, he's just helping us. Don't worry about him. See, he's just helping us. He's helping inquiries.
Was anything done to stop you speaking to Zahid?
No, not stop at all.
Now, I think that subsequently you you decided to send in a complaint letter to the police. And if we look at paragraph 22, you mention there that the police were very rude and they weren't answering any of my questions. My son was asking if they had a warrant and so forth. And you asked them to explain what happened, why you want it to be empty, why is it a crime scene? And they said, we're not obliged to tell you, we're not going to tell you. We have to do forensic examination and the building has to be sealed. That's it, nothing else.
That's true.
You then decided to send a letter in to complain about that. Is that correct?
No, I didn't decide it on that stage. See, I mentioned in our meeting at the Islamic Center, I mentioned to the committee members, and chairman decided that the committee should write a letter to the superintendent or head constable about the complaint, what happened.
And tell the chair what the organisation is that you spoke to.
There's 5 Islamic Center.
And is that mentioned in paragraph 24?
Yes, that's right.
And we have a copy of a letter, PS 03470, which is dated the 14th of May 2015. Would that be the right time? So you see, it's come up on the screen from the Fife Islamic Centre at Methil, and the date is the 14th of May 2015. You see that?
Yes, I can see that.
And that was sent to Gary McEwen, Chief Superintendent, Fife Divisional Commander, Police Headquarters in Glenrothes.
Yes, that's right.
And if we can see the body of that letter, it's been written, Dear Mr. McEwen, and it talks about the Fife Islamic Centre has for many years worked closely with Fife Police to address many issues and concerns of importance to Muslim community. We acknowledge the hard work that Fife Police do. However, in this instance, we believe police did not act responsibly. This incident happened on the 3rd of May, and the people living in the house was thrown out of the house, including 7-week-old baby and a disabled person, into the street without any explanation. As this incident has been reported to Islamic Centres Committee, we are seeking a meeting with yourself to safeguard safety of our Muslim community as soon as possible. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And is that the case, Mr. Ahmed, that the centre have worked very closely with Fife Police, or at that time in 2015 for many years, raising
Yes.
issues and concerns with the Muslim community?
Yes,
And was it you that had reported the concerns you had to their committee
yes,
about the events of the 3rd of May?
yes,
And they wrote a letter to Gary McEwen about the matter.
the letter was written from the Islamic Center because I am secretary for the center. So chairman asked me to write a letter, so I wrote it.
So you,
At his
so you actually wrote the letter,
yes,
the text of the letter.
yes,
And if at a later stage, you obviously I've read out that you were asking maybe to meet with the police. Is that right?
yes.
And did you subsequently meet with the police?
Not as we requested, but I received a letter from Mr. McKeon. Well, the Islamic Center. I don't know whether it was Islamic Center or it was myself. I received a letter from the center. It was saying that our matter is being referred to about being dealt with in the local police and Maxwell police station.
Right. Can I ask you to look at a letter that we have? It's undated, PS 03477. And it's a letter from Police Scotland. And you'll see on the final page it's prepared on behalf of an inspector at Leavenmouth Police Station, Tom Brown. Do you see that?
No, I don't see it over here.
Oh, do you not see it? Can you see it now? It's been moved further up the screen. Well, if you take it from me that this is a letter
That's from Leavenmouth. Yes.
sent to you from Police Scotland, and if we go up to the top, you'll see that it says, Dear Mr. Ahmed, complaint about police. Thank you for attending at Leavenmouth Police Station on Tuesday the 26th of May 2015 in order to discuss issues which occurred on the 3rd of May. So it seems to suggest there that you had attended Leavenmouth Police Station on the 26th of May. Do you remember that?
Yes, with the inspector, yes.
And the letter goes on to mention the 3rd of May, and that at that time the officers were instructed to secure the premises as there was potential forensic evidence within which required to be secured. Can you see that? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. And then it says, on arrival, the premises were occupied by your wife, son and daughter. The police subsequently secured the premises and requested that the occupants found alternative accommodation until the forensic examination was complete. And then if we move on to the next page, You have raised concerns that the police officers failed to communicate the purpose of their attendance fully to you, which resulted in confusion. Having discussed the matters with you in detail, it is clear that there have been shortcomings with regard to the standard of communication between the police and members of your family. It would appear that the requirement to secure potential forensic evidence has superseded quality of service. This should not have been the case. Whilst there is a balance to be struck with regard to what information is shared between the police and members of the public with regard to confidentiality, this should have been managed in a fashion so that you understood why you were being asked to vacate the premises. And was that in line with the discussion that you'd had and the meeting you'd had at Leavenmouth on Tuesday the 26th of May that year?
Yes.
How long after that meeting did you receive this letter?
Oh, I don't remember that.
That's fine. And then I think the letter goes on to say, just to complete this, you have instructed that you do not wish to make an official complaint and wish the matter to be addressed locally. Is that correct, Mr. Ahmed?
Yes.
And you were happy not to make an official complaint?
Yes, I was happy that time, yes.
Right. I consider the point you have raised to be upheld, and your perceptions have been brought to the attention of the officers in attendance. So did you understand that your perceptions or the way you saw things that day had been brought to the attention of the officers who'd attended your house?
Yes.
And were you satisfied with that?
Yes.
Thank you. And the police Scotland said, "May I take this opportunity to thank you for attending and bringing this matter to my attention. And on behalf of P Division 5, please accept my apologies with regard to any unnecessary inconvenience that was caused."
I accepted that.
Thank you. Can I look back again at your inquiry statement, Mr. Ahmed? And if we could look at paragraph 25. And you talk about going to the police station and the details. And you said that you work for the community and you did have a genuine concern, as you say there. If this is happening with me, it can happen with anyone else. And what's going to happen then? When they come to me for help, what should I do if I can't help myself? Do you want to say a little bit more about that paragraph?
That was just concern for the police, see, because they really didn't sort it out my problem properly, especially at the house. What happened in the house when they came? Suppose somebody else come with a similar complaint, what would we do? We work for the community as a community head, you can say. If somebody come to me for that problem and I have to go to the police, either local police or at the head office, and if we can't solve out our own problems, how can we solve out with the other people's problem? There are many problems. See, we've been helping with the police all the time, working closely all the community issues. That was my concern, see, at that time. We are not able to help anybody.
And is that something that you do, Mr. Ahmed, to work with the police and the police work with you to resolve people in the community if they have difficulties?
Yes, we do. We've been working with the police and on the issue of terrorism as well. And some other problems, the local problems we have raised, they've been helping quite a few times.
And is that something that benefits people in the community, that engagement and that working relationship that you have?
Well, that gives bad impression, goes bad impression to the community, see. If we can't solve our own problem, the committee members, how can we solve the other people's problem? Because we are not being listened at the police station.
And looking back to the events of the 3rd of May, can you help the chair? How do you think things could have been done better that day to help you and your family?
All what I was asking, see, because I didn't know at that time what actually happened. So they wasn't telling me what happened, why they want us to empty the house. If they told me at that time, look, this thing happened, not properly, probably somehow, and we have to examine your premises. We are probably looking something, forensic examination or whatever. It is very important that we have to leave the house because somebody involved in that matter. Later on, I learned my son was involved. See. At that point, I didn't know anything at all. And they wasn't telling us either.
If the police had given you more information, would that have helped you and your family?
Yes.
Looking back now, how do you feel about your experiences on the 3rd of May with the police?
Very bad.
Has that caused any damage to your feelings about the police or your relationship with the police?
Yeah, that put me off from the police, the way they were behaving. See.
Your daughter gave evidence today and talked about feeling like a criminal, being made to feel like a second-class citizen. And she mentioned in evidence that she thought that may have been because she was a Muslim. Did you, what comment, if any, would you have about that?
No, I don't think that that way at all. No, it was just that wasn't explained. If it was explained properly, that shouldn't have happened. I don't think it's a racism or because we were Muslim. No, I don't think so.
Can I ask you something about something from a statement that a police officer who was there that day has mentioned? I don't need to take you to the actual, although I can, PERC 00145, the actual statement. This is from a Detective Constable Petrie. And on page, this is a statement he gave, or he an operational statement, which says in it on page 2, paragraphs 1 and 2, you'll see at the top he talks about, no, it's not this page, sorry, 00145, and it's, can you go back please? Yes, right, sorry, carry on, keep going, and go to the next page please. Right, I think my copy is slightly different, so what he the second paragraph that we see on this page here, as a result, DC Miller and I attended at this property. Do you see that paragraph?
Yes.
And he talks about he assisted uniformed officers in clearing this property and then securing it. And it proved particularly problematic due to there being small children and a disabled man within. Do you see that? As I understand it, this is in connection with the events at your house on the 3rd of May 2015. And can we look at the next paragraph, please? And he says that once the work was completed, that DC Miller and he returned to Leavenmouth Police Station, where we had to make several phone calls to family members of yourself around the care of the disabled male. We also had to contact the social work regarding this. Were you aware that day, Mr. Ahmed, that the police had gone back to Leavenmouth Police Station and were making calls to the social work department and making calls to members of your family around the care of your son, Abid?
Well, they phoned me, they told me these things that they will tell the social work. When they were saying that there will be accommodation for us available in the hotel somewhere and so on, where we can stay overnight. And I told them no, because my son do not agree staying overnight anywhere. Now, especially in the hotels, no, because he never stayed in the hotels. It was regarding that, see, nothing else. They did make phone calls, maybe, I don't know how many, maybe 2, 3.
Do you remember
Yes.
if the social work were involved at any stage that day?
I don't know, see, because I wasn't told anything.
All right. Thank you. Could you give me a moment, please? Mr. Ahmed, thank you very much. I don't have any further questions for you.
Are there any Rule 9 applications? Mr. Ahmed, it's the chair again. Thank you very much for giving evidence to the inquiry. That's the end of your evidence, and you'll now be disconnected from the inquiry. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Graham, do you wish to say something?
Yes, if I may. That is the end of today's evidence. I'm very conscious that you've not yet heard from officers who were at the house and who attended the house. We have not yet approached those officers to provide inquiry statements at this stage and to comment on the evidence of Mrs. Rashid or Mr. Ahmed or the contents of their inquiry statements. As you've heard today, Mrs. Rashid's signed statement was only received late yesterday. But the inquiry will be approaching police officers who attended in the house and will be seeking inquiry statements from them. Once those inquiry statements are available, a decision will be taken how best to present their evidence about these events to you, either through the statements or in oral evidence. And that decision will be done in due course once the statements are available to me.
Thank you, that's very helpful. Now the inquiry will adjourn and sit again at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.